Hey everyone, this is Dutch Mogul from Ill-Gotten Games, and today I'm going to teach you how to play Pocket Tactics. What we have here is the print and play version, which would come in a printable PDF, and we've uploaded it into Tabletop Simulator. If you have Tabletop Simulator on Steam, it's a great program, and especially good for the times we're in right now. And this will actually be available for free on there via the workshops as soon as we start the Kickstarter campaign. The first thing you're going to want to do is select your factions. The game comes with two factions, the Legion of the High King, which is your sort of knights and soldiers and such, versus the Tribes of the Dark Forest, which are sort of beast folk and druids and witches that live in the forest, things like that. So you'd want to choose your faction, set your pieces off to the sides, and then take your base tiles. The tribes get the druid circle, and the Legion gets the Care, which is sort of a fortress. Next, you're going to take all 20 terrain tiles and you're going to drop them into a bag. In Tabletop Simulator, that's really easy. You just shake them up, and that's going to randomize everything, and then you're all set to go. Next up, we'll determine who gets to be the first player. Players should roll off. You can do 3 dice aside, just like this. The tribes got a high of a 6, which goes against a high of a 5 for the Legion, which means the tribes are going to be the first player in this scenario. As first player, the tribes are going to take their base tile, which is the druid circle, and place it in front of the player. Next, the first player will draw a tile from the bag and place it against their tile. It can't go against any of the backward-facing facets, so those 3 facets that go toward the player, but it can go anywhere on the outside, as shown here. Next, it's the second player's turn to draw their tile. They're going to draw one from the bag, and they're going to place it on any of the tiles facing them. So it can't touch any of the backward facings that are facing toward the first player. Then it'll go back to the first player, and it's going to alternate like this, with players grabbing a tile from the bag and placing it on the map so it sort of blooms out toward the second player. Once all 20 tiles have been drawn from the bag and placed, it's time for the second player to take their base tile, the Care in this case, and they're going to put it at the point that's furthest away from the first base tile, but still touching the same number of tiles. So as you can see here, this is about 6 tiles away, and the Care has to be placed so that it's touching those 2 furthest tiles. Now that the map is built, the players will start deploying their first units to the map. This is done starting with the first player and alternating to the second. Each player selects one character, one unit from their force, and they're going to put it in one of the first 3 tiles closest to their base. Once each side has deployed 3 units, you're ready to start the first turn of the game. The game includes rule sheets, and each sheet also has a series of cards for all of the character units that are included in each faction. Each unit type has its own different kinds of stats that'll have effects on the game. You have the name up there, then you have types. These are just little keywords that could be tagged by an ability like Wilderfolk, Soldier, things like that. This character has Forest Advantage, as we can see there. And they have 3 different skills: melee, ballistics, and magic. It's for making close attacks, range attacks, and of course magic attacks. They also have a special ability and a cost, which is used to determine their overall value, especially if you're doing custom builds. And now the game's begun. Each turn, a player can take a character and they can move it a tile, or they can attack with it. Here we have one character hopping over another, which is another thing you can do to get to a further tile. Only allied units can hop over one another. You can't hop over an enemy. Play alternates between the players, each player moving or attacking with one unit. Another thing that can be done is deployment. If you have models in reserves, you can take them and move them in from your base. The tile has to be open for the deployment to work. We'll cover moving into water tiles, which is dangerous for the units to do, but deploying into water tiles is just like deploying into any other tile. You never have to worry about the hazard effect. We'll get to that in a bit. The Deepwood Stalker has a special ability that affects deployment. They can actually be deployed directly into any open forest tile. That's any forest tile that doesn't have a unit occupying it. We covered movement a bit, but let's talk about assaults. When one unit attacks another, it's called declaring an assault. Here, we see the bowmen could use their special ability to attack far away to make a ranged attack against the forest witch. But we're not going to focus on that. We'll focus on the mage and the forest witch instead. There are two kinds of assaults, close assaults and ranged assaults. If the mage wanted to make a ranged assault using their ballistic skill against the forest witch, they could do that from their tile. If they want to do a close assault with melee, they would move on top of the forest witch there and actually move into their tile to attack. Now, the magic skill, which is really the mage's strong suit, will allow them to declare either a close or ranged assault. We're going to go ahead and have the mage do a close assault against the forest witch here. Because the mage has decided to use a magic assault, making a close magic assault, they're going to use the magic dice. She has 2 red offense dice and 3 blue defense dice. The forest witch has to respond using her magic dice as well. She's only got 1 red offense die and 2 red defense die. Everybody rolls their dice at the same time. Now that the dice are rolled, we're going to see who's the winner. The mage's highest die roll is a 4, which goes against the highest blue dice roll, which is a 2 for the forest witch, means that the mage is defeating the forest witch. The highest that the forest witch has is a 4, going against a 3 for the mage, if we go red to blue again. That means that the forest witch is also defeating the mage, so they're taking each other out, kind of mutually assured destruction. Because the fight is happening in a forest, which is the type that the forest witch has, the forest witch has 1 instance of advantage. She gets to re-roll 1 of her blue dice, and here she gets a 6. That beats the highest offense die that the mage has, which means that the forest witch is safe and actually ends up defeating the mage instead. The mage is moved off to the captured section, which is off to the side, kind of near the other characters' units. We touched on water earlier and how it's dangerous and everything, but here's how it actually works. When you move into a water tile, you have to make a hazard test. Roll a die, and if you get a 1 through 3, your model is defeated automatically. This Deepwood Stalker here got a 5, so they're actually fine. In this instance, the Cursed Ranger is making a close assault with melee against the bowman who's occupying a water tile. They have to make their hazard test right now before the assault rules happen. Here, they get a 2, which means that they're defeated. But wait, the Cursed Ranger has an ability that allows them to roll a die whenever they're defeated and stay on the map on a 4, 5, or 6. Nope, didn't happen. They're done. You can win the game in one of 2 ways, either by clearing all of your opponent's units or taking out their base tile. Base tiles defend with 3 dice, but they don't have any offense dice. Here we've got a spearman making a close assault against a base, and we make some rolls, and we can see that he's actually defeated it with a higher number than they can match. And there we go. So the base tile is taken out, and then the game. Of course, that happens. And that's basically how you play Pocket Tactics. I hope this has been informative, and hope everybody stays safe. Take care.